All right, so I put out the Texans, the 5 Texans, the most on the hot seat heading into the season for different reasons. Titus Howard, you got to get better than just okay. Dameon Pierce, you're fighting for your life. John Mechie, you're fighting for your life as a Houston Texan. Kenyon Green, you're fighting for your life as a Houston Texan. And Jalen Petrie, you're fighting to justify what many people believed about you after year one. We kind of discussed this earlier in the show. Yeah. We immediately got a text from Brandon Scott, who joins us every Thursday at 11, and he said me and Lopez were quitters.
Yeah,
what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, no, because I remember this segment, and I liked it. I liked the list, and I like all of the segments that y'all do. I've been listening to this show long before I was on it. Mm-hmm. But I felt like beyond just the premise of the list, which is a good list, and all of your points were fair. I really like that segment. but I feel like the energy, and this is what I don't like, is I feel like the energy of this show has gone an extra mile on all of these players, except maybe Jalen Petrie. I didn't think so until we did that previous segment, and you said you wanted to go get a high-price safety, Lopez.
He's fourth on the list. So I think it's fair.
Well, now I'm going to add him to it, too.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all have gone the extra mile of beyond, and I am willing to say, hey, these 5 guys that you mentioned, Landry, are on the hot seat. I'm willing to go that far. I'm not comfortable going the extra mile of kind of quitting on these guys the way it seems like y'all have. Y'all haven't outright said, I quit on these guys, but I hear how y'all talk about them, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like y'all have any optimism or have left much room for thought or in your mind that say, hey, Dameon Pierce could, after a year being in the system and admitting on our air, right in the which we've played on ad nauseum now at this point, admitting that, hey, I have more work to do.
So you think
to produce?
So you think Dameon Pierce could come in here and be part of like a 2-piece combo?
Why not? 2-piece, 3-piece? Yeah, why not? Okay. Why not?
This is a guy I'm disappointed in you on that.
What?
He couldn't get on the field, Brandon.
No, because he's
I like the guy.
No,
he
he
couldn't
sucked
get on
in the system last year.
So you think he can come back and all of a sudden not suck in the system?
Yeah, no, I think you can put in work and that you can improve in the system. And we've seen that he's got ability, so it's not like a physical capability issue. It was a processing or understanding. Like you said, square peg, round hole.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like, Lopez.
Yeah.
Square peg, round hole. Is it for sure a square peg, round hole in the sense that he can't adjust and become a better player within the system? Like, maybe not. Like, you could be right about it, but I feel like, and this is kind of the theme with all the players, all of these guys are either guys that they have under contract for cheap, and there's just really no reason to.
There's a bargain.
Or, yeah, they're all bargains, and you have no reason to quit on them. Or they're Titus Howard in the case of somebody that you actually have paid and mismanaged in putting him in positions that he doesn't actually play.
The fact that it is a bargain and the fact that I think it is easier to find running backs is why it's easy for me to quit on Dameon. Could Dameon Pierce be the third running back on this team? Sure.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because my counter to you, B.Scott, would be, okay, let's assume that he fits the round hole.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a square peg anymore.
Yeah.
Is he still a number one? Is he a number one running back?
No, see, and that's
I mean, he's not. You need a number one running back. Is my thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You need a number one running back.
100%. But he wasn't. He didn't at the end by the end of the year. He wasn't your number one running back last year. So now he's just a guy on the team, which I think is fine. And then whatever else he gives you beyond that is just a bonus. Like if he ends up being like, go get a number one running. We just had that discussion.
Yeah.
Go get Saquon Barkley. Go get Derrick Henry. I told you, I'm down for all of the running backs that are on your list. Go get one of those guys. And if Dameon Pierce turns into something like in between what he was last year and his rookie year,
I'll take
that. Then there you go. You're good.
So we just want to adjust the expectations.
So you would say, let me use a name here.
I'm just not willing to throw these guys out.
Josh Jacobs, Dameon Pierce, and say Devin Singletary. That's a heck of a run.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
That's a heck of a run.
Yeah.
But
do it.
How do you know that all of a sudden it's going to be a better fit? I mean, we can talk about his attitude, and we love him, and we do.
Yeah,
and all I know is like the most recent sample size we have is a guy that couldn't fit in this offense.
That's fair, and I'm not trying to hope traffic here and say that it absolutely will. And I'll say this: maybe this is a conversation that I'll be more willing to have once we get into training camp and things start looking a certain way, or depending on what guys they actually bring in here.
Mm-hmm.
What does the offseason look like? Then maybe I'm like, okay, well, they got some guys in here where Dameon Pierce really is expendable, and you can just go ahead and do your thing. But as of right now, the way it stands right now, what you're bringing back and what you're looking at towards the offseason, yeah, I see no reason to be like, hey, this guy can't be a significant contributor to me in year 2 of a system that he struggled in year 1.
So Dameon Pierce right there. Significant. I hope. I mean, that would be great. I would still try to bring in a couple of backs, including Singletary.
And you can do both. Who
else are we quitting on?
Yeah, so let me go to Titus Howard real quick because
he's out. He's out.
You're straight out.
I'm out on Titus Howard.
You guys.
He's a top 5 highest paid right tackle in the league. He's a top 5 highest paid right tackle in the league.
And there are layers to this, but go ahead. Lay it out.
One qualifier. What did it for me was during the season when Charlie Heck played right tackle in place of
Fant.
Yeah,
George Fant.
George Fant. And that did it for me because Charlie Heck could bump George Fant, but Titus Howard couldn't.
No, that's not what happened.
That is what happened.
I've done this with you guys.
That is what happened.
It's because Charlie Heck can't play guard.
I understand
that. And honestly, if we're being just frank about it, Titus can't either.
No.
But they think he can, and they have thought he can for a long time now, and that is more of a problem than Titus Howard himself.
Charlie Heck is not a guard. He'll never be a guard or whatever. But you had interior linemen that could play guard.
What did you?
But at one point, before they all started getting hurt, you did. And he still couldn't play right tackle. That's what did it for me.
Yeah, I don't think that that's true. And if that's the case, then we should be on alert for a Titus Howard trade or him being really his roster spot will be in jeopardy. They paid that guy like the player who played in 2022 as opposed to the one that played in 2023. And it seems like every year, this is my issue with the whole Titus Howard management situation. This guy only plays his position every other year.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about? So, I'm not willing to – and look, I know that there's another layer to this conversation with Titus Howard perceived to be kind of goofy on Twitter. I don't want to kind of factor that into the player evaluation either. I do think he could stand to have better social media management. I agree with y'all on that. No. But I don't really take that to the player evaluation. To me, it's a dude that only play his position every other year, and when he plays his actual position, he looks okay. Now, I think it's fair to question. No, he looks good.
I'm elevating. I'm judging him based on being paid as a top 5
and I was going to get to that. My point is, I think it's fair to question, hey, did they pay Titus Howard too early and too much, and could they have spent that money better elsewhere?
Yeah.
I think that's
my thing.
That's a fine discussion, but do you have a right tackle problem? Until I see him be bad at right tackle, I'm not willing to say that he is.
All right, well, there you go. So we got Titus, we got Dameon Pierce. Who else we quitting on?
Well,
John Mechie?
Yeah, y'all.
Are we quitting too early on John Mechie?
So John Mechie is a sensitive one. Okay.
Well, but he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. He's told us multiple times he wants to be treated like a ball player.
And I think
I'm giving him his wishes. If you don't want to give him his wishes, then that's on you, sir.
Nah.
He told me 2 times when I spoke to him directly, I want to be treated like a ball player. And as a ball player, I'm looking at San Francisco's reserve receivers, including Chris Conley and Jennings. I'm looking at them nearly blocking punts. I'm looking at them make tackles. I'm looking at them do all types of stuff outside of being a receiver.
Yeah.
And they might even be as good a receivers as him right now. So if we're talking about John Mechie, what do you want me to do here?
Landry's going to get mad at me for this, man.
All right.
Look,
oh, no.
I think we manufactured a conversation about John Mechie being treated like a football player and, just discounting the last couple of years that he had. I really do. I think in an effort to hype up the season, to even hype up John Mechie, maybe subliminally we were trying to give him some confidence. I don't know. But I think somewhere within developing this conversation and narrative, we sold ourselves on the idea that John Mechie was ready to just be treated like a football player. And let's pretend like all of these let's pretend like he didn't tear his ACL, and let's pretend like he didn't battle cancer for a year, and let's pretend like he has played football in the last 2 years, when in fact it's been almost 2 years since the guy actually played football.
That's fair. That's fair. But
we had the conversation, and we should have the conversation, and it was cool to have it. But we don't really get to decide how long it takes or how a guy responds to missing football for 2 years and how long it takes for him to get back to being himself.
No, I get it. It's the NFL, though. I don't when can't my thing is it really does all that. Not to sound insensitive, it doesn't matter.
No, I get
it. It sucks for him. It can be the reason why, but he's got to be better.
No, he absolutely has to be better.
He's fighting for a roster spot
above
next year.
That. No, 100%, and we've said that. Above that, they've got to be better in that position. So that just kind of comes back to John Mechie. Hey, we need to be better, and why do we need to be better? Because you're not better, right?
And
so
we love John Mechie. Let's make that clear. We love John Mechie.
But it's a similar
we need wide receiver depth.
It's a similar point that I'm making about Dameon Pierce, though. Like, he's there. Like, you have guys who are better than him already. Like, he can still provide wide receiver depth to you, and then he's a camp conversation. That's why I agree with the point that he's on the hot seat. He's absolutely on the hot seat, but I haven't just thrown out this idea that he can't be a contributor to the team.
My point on this is you could be right, and maybe there's more lingering effects of both the ACL and the cancer. You're right, but he wasn't the only one that told us treat him like a football player. The Texans did.
No, I get
the Texans had him active. The Texans used him. They could have found other options.
But see,
they could have had other. They could have protected him.
But this is the part of the conversation that I'm saying is manufactured. I think we can treat him like a football player and also still take into account the personhood.
But there might be another level.
Yeah, like he is a football player who has been through a lot as a person,
but also,
and so it might take a little bit longer for him to produce like a football player that we want him to produce like.
That's true, but like sometimes when we do that, we're like assuming that like his best is. It's. I mean, even guys that don't go through anything that get drafted when John Mechie gets, like sometimes they just don't have a place in the league.
Yeah, no, I'm not assuming anything. I'm just saying it's not time yet.
No, he's got a camp. I'm not saying he's got
a camp.
To be fair, we haven't quit on John Mechie.
No.
Now others maybe we have.
As a number 3 is like a possibility.
No, it's
of
time.
A year from now, I would bet pretty much everything that a year from now we're not sitting here saying that John Mechie is a quality number 3 receiver. Now, if you want to tell me like he's a 4 or 5 that comes in situations, maybe 5, I can hear that. But I don't think, and I didn't even really think it when they drafted him. I don't think that John Mechie's like gonna establish himself as like, oh, that's a number 3 guy right there.
Here's what would not surprise me. Okay, this would not shock me at all. If you look up next season or in the 2024 season. And your best
you can put a number on
receiver. Yeah, no. I'm not going to put no numbers on what exactly he's going to do. I have no idea. But this is what I'm saying. If you look up and your outside receivers are Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and this is Lopez going to be you not getting your wish at all.
Gabe Davis?
Yeah. But your best outside receivers are those two guys that we know. Your slot receiver is John Mechie, and you got rookies that are producing more than, say, Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie did last year.
Yeah.
Like because of what you have in this draft. Or maybe that guy displaces John Mechie or something like that. Like I think that is totally in play that John Mechie could make a leap or take a leap.
Brandon Scott with us here on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610.
Get to Kenny Green.
Do we need to do the Kenny Green? Or can you disagree that he's fighting for a job?
Look, we do not have time. Okay. We don't
got the Kenny Green thing. By the way, man, the Titus Howard retweets are going a long way. There's people on the text line. Hey, occasional retweet will get someone in your camp all the time. You can kind of tell that that's paying off with the Titus Howard Love Fest.